No.
I'm sorry, I'm keeping myself unmuted.
No.
I can,
Hi everyone, it looks like we're live now, so we can get started whenever you're ready, Warden Weaver.
okay, thank you. We are live. I will call our open session.
I've been working on putting on flowers. I got 2 covers off. I figured just take a break. One plastic come off, but I take one end, start and work the other. Take the spinners out.
Deputy Warden, I hear your.
I'm on a call here. Just.
Yep.
Sorry. What was that, Bill?
We could hear you talking. I don't know whether it was.
Oh.
Anyway.
It is.
We'll just everybody to watch their microphone, and those members of County Council, please raise your hands that I can see it and I will try to acknowledge you and have the discussion. So I don't think we're going to do a silent reflection, but we do want to keep everyone that is being affected, and everyone's being affected, but everyone that's been affected with the loss of life through this COVID pandemic, and keep them in our thoughts, and keep on doing what we're doing to try to flatten the curve and carry on. So with that, Council did open earlier with an in-camera session. We had our roll call, and everyone was asked for a disclosure of pecuniary interest. And if I could, I would call on Stefan to give us a rise and report from our in-camera session.
Thank you, Warden Weaver. Good morning, everyone. County Council did meet in private, that is in camera, for a period of about 18 minutes. And during that time, I have 4 matters to report out to the public. 1, Council reviewed and approved its minutes of its in-camera minutes for its meetings of February 5th, March 4th, and April 1st. Secondly, it provided staff instructions in terms of continuing discussions and negotiations and finalizing those discussions and negotiations for a long-term lease at Bayside Centre in the City of Sarnia. Thirdly, County Council reviewed and approved a number of its committee minutes, both its committee AM and PM minutes of February 19th and April 5th. Then lastly, on March 4th, to be reported out today, County Council did approve a lease between the county and Blue Water Health for the space at 190 Front Street North. That is the old CIBC building in downtown Sarnia. That lease is with Blue Water Health, so that Blue Water Health can partner with an organization entitled Open Access Minds, so that the space can be utilized to operate a mental health and treatment center for youth. Those are the matters I have to report out, Warden.
Thank you for that. At this time, we'd like to welcome Dr. Ranaday to give us an update. If there he is, welcome, Dr. Ranaday, and please, I'll turn it over to you to present your update.
Thank you, Warden. Because of the technology, I'm going to ask you again if you can hear me.
Yep.
Okay, great. Good. Okay. Thank you, and good morning, everyone. My update today will really focus on 3 issues. So the first is that I'm going to give you an update on the cases. The second thing is that I'm going to show you a graph of cumulative case counts, so you can see how the case counts are changing over time. And then the third is I'll just briefly touch on the testing and screening activities that are going on in the county with respect to long-term care homes and other congregate settings. So the first thing I'll tell you is that we have 192 confirmed cases with 16 deaths, 122 confirmed cases who have recovered, and 2 active institutional outbreaks. I'm going to share my screen with you, so sorry if it looks like I'm looking elsewhere for a second. Uh-oh, we've disabled screen sharing. Is there a way that we can fix that so that I can... Thank you. Okay, great. So can you just give me a nod if you can see the screen that I'm sharing with you? Okay, great. Thank you. So this is the graph of confirmed cumulative cases, and I believe I showed this to you the last time that we met. And at that time, we were somewhere around here, and I suggested to you that, you know, things on this side of the graph are stable numbers and not subject to change, and things on this side of the graph are less stable and could be subject to change. So now we're in the place where the section that we thought was flattening has now moved into the spot where this data really isn't going to change that much. So we can see a gradual flattening of this curve. And a continued ongoing flattening, with the caveat that this data from here to here may change as we get more cases, or if we get more cases. I think this is really strong evidence that the public health measures have taken effect, that they've worked, that they require time to work, and that given enough time, they do work. So that I think is reassuring in a way, recognizing that there are still populations that we need to protect, and recognizing that we have not provincially met the criteria for moving into the separate phases of the openings that are planned through that the roadmap to opening up the province, but we're on our way there. So I think that's reassuring. And then the final thing that I'll tell you, I guess I'll stop screen sharing. So hopefully you can see me again. Is that right? Okay. Is that, you know, so the province has some directives around testing in congregate settings, including long-term care homes and child care centers. And so to date, the partnership that we have around testing with the hospital and with primary care folks has enabled us to test or offer testing to all of the long-term care home staff and residents that we have in the county. So those have been completed. We're going to move on to child care centers and do those, the ones that are eligible to remain open, and it's just the staff of those that will be offered testing, and then wait for further direction to continue doing the retirement home testing. So that's the update on the testing piece here, and I think I'll close then and turn it back to you, Warden. Thank you so much, and see if there are any questions.
We thank you for that update, Dr. Renaday, and I'm sure that if people have questions, they can send them into Andrew Taylor, and they will get that back, and we will have our group meeting again on Friday morning. So thank you, and continued kudos for everyone that's out there in the health world working on everything and keeping us safe. So
thank you, Ward.
Very good. Thank you. Item number 8 on the agenda is the minutes of council open session from February 5th, March 4th, and April 1st. Do I have a mover and seconder for those minutes? Deputy Warden Marriott and Councillor Arnold. Any questions on any of those 3 sets of minutes? Councillor Bird.
Thank you, Warden Weber. Further to my carried motion on March the 4th with regard to the requesting for the feasibility study from staff on the waste to energy facility. I haven't, and it's been exactly 2 months now since that motion was carried. I don't see anything in the minutes at all, so I just wondered if staff could tell me when we can expect that feasibility study, please.
Okay, that item, I guess, should come back to that committee, and possibly, I see Mr. Cole had signed on. We're really just dealing with the minutes. Is there an update on that, Mr. Cole?
Through you, Mr. Warden. Yes, and I think hopefully council can appreciate that our attention's been diverted a little bit otherwise throughout this crisis. We have started to gather some information. We've been contacted externally by some private companies that operate in that field. We are working on bringing back a report, and maybe as things begin to return to a little bit of normal, we can look to see that. I don't think that our deadline for providing reports to the May committee would be this week. So I don't think we can have that finalized by this week, but hopefully the following committee would be appropriate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions regarding the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? I see everyone's hand, thank you, that's carried. Correspondence, we have 2 items of correspondence. Town of Gravenhurst is one of the pieces that I believe has been, time has passed and that request has been looked after, so I'd ask for a motion to receive and file that. Moved by Councillor White, second by Councillor Cook. All in favor of that? That is carried, thank you. Correspondence from member municipalities. We have a piece of correspondence. The City of Sarnia request by resolution that the County of Lambton allocate $120,000 of emergency funding it has received to local food banks. How does the council want to deal with that motion? It's recommended I receive and file. Is there Councillor White?
Thank you. I wonder if it's appropriate at this. I would actually move that County Council endorse this resolution. And if I have a seconder, I would ask for staff input on that.
Councillor Stark has seconded that we endorse the resolution, which would, I guess by endorsement, that would mean we allocate $120,000 to the local food banks. Questions, comments regarding that? Councillor Hand? Turn your microphone on.
I was just hoping to have it explained from my understanding. I thought that the money that was received from the government included funding to the local food banks. So I just wanted some clarification from social services.
Is there, Valerie?
Through you, Warden Weaver, I can respond a bit to that. You're correct. There was some federal funding that flowed through to the food banks. So the Inn of the Good Shepherd here in Sarnia, Lambton received some packaging from Feed Ontario. But I think there is always a need for some additional food to go out into our community. Certainly food security is a huge issue. To date, I'll share with you that we have flown $60,000 of the relief fund already to the Inn of the Good Shepherd. Actually, not to the Inn of the Good Shepherd. We flowed $20,000 to the Inn of the Good Shepherd prior to even receiving any money because we knew there would be a challenge. So we did that. And then we've reached out to some of the other food banks throughout the county. So in total, we've spent $60,000, and we do plan on spending some additional dollars, certainly, to the Inn of the Good Shepherd. The Inn of the Good Shepherd actually coordinates with the majority of the food banks within the county to be a main distributor, and they receive large pallets of items and things. So it's just fiscally responsible to give the dollars to the inn and let them work with the food banks, and so that would be our plan.
Okay, any other comments? Councillor Arnold?
Thank you, Warden Weaver. I just wanted to make sure that the money that is being asked for here is going to flow out for actual food and not be put into the administrative side. And I see that's not part of the motion. I just assume that that's what the intent is. And I just wanted to make sure that that was what was going to happen if we do go ahead and pass this.
I can speak to that. In fact, that is the criteria that we established at the City of Sarnia, that this monies, which represent 5% of the money that is totally flowing. There's $2.816 million that has been forwarded to the county, and 5% of that would represent $140,000, 20,000 of which has already been advanced by the county. So the other 120,000 is specifically for food, directly to the food banks, managed by the Inn of the Good Shepherd as the distributor of the goods to ensure that all the county food banks are supplied.
Okay, Councillor Bride?
Yeah, thanks, Warden Weaver. I guess my concern or question is to Valerie, does the money that we're going to give here qualify as one of the allocations that she can spend that money on, or is this coming out of the county coffers?
Through you, Warden Weaver, to Council Broad. Absolutely, it does qualify for the Social Service Relief Fund dollars. Those dollars are to assist individuals who are experiencing homelessness or at risk of homelessness. So those who are experiencing homelessness certainly require food, and we would hope that in order to ensure that people remain housed, they can use their own dollars to pay their rent or their energy, and then if the food banks can assist them, that helps with them remaining housed. I should add that we're also setting up a fund to provide gift cards to those in receipt of social assistance or those who may be low income coming in to apply while they're waiting for their CERB. So we've been giving out gift cards directly to grocery stores, to individuals to use in the grocery stores wherever they live, the grocery store closest to them and within the county and the city of Sarnia as well. So that's also another way of getting dollars out to individuals.
Okay. A follow-up, Councillor Broad?
Yeah, follow up on that, Bill. I guess I get a little concerned when we, as member municipalities, start to dictate to staff on where we should allocate that money. I would presume, and I think what the job Valerie is doing is excellent, keeping on top of it, contacting the Good Shepherd, contacting the food bank, and I'm sure she's filling the gaps where they need to be filled. I guess I just get a little concerned that we could make a motion to dole that money out when I'm very confident that staff is already looking after that on top of that. Where the 5% come from or whatever values that Mike was talking about there, I don't know how they just drew that number or whatever, but I guess I'm just a little concerned that where does this stop and where does this start now with what we're doing? Thank you.
Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. I'd like to remark on Mr. Broad's and Mr. Stark's both. So Mr. Stark made the point, he affiliated with the the Good Shepherd. Are there food banks that are not affiliated with the Good Shepherd? That would be a concern. I agree with Mr. Broad that we have to make sure that we give the tools to staff and let them allocate where it needs to go. Thank you.
Councillor Rombouts, I believe I seen your hand up.
Yeah, I was thinking the same in terms of what Mr. Bradley was saying as well. I'm quite confident that staff knows where the dollars need to be spent. I'm concerned if we allocate this portion, then we might be taking away from a need somewhere else. Did the members from Sarnia explain why they think that this is a needed allocation of these funds?
I can speak to that as well. Stark, the reality is that the money that was forwarded from the province was intended to help the people that are so much in need. And I would echo Valerie's comments that it is in fact a designated need within the money, within the criteria of the money that was forwarded by the province. In addition, I think we need to give the staff the flexibility of advancing those monies as they see appropriate, as long as they're in the hands of the Inn of the Good Shepherd by the fall of this year. So I think there needs to be flexibility given to staff as to how they allocate the monies. The reality is that people are hungry. They're going to be hungrier. The CERB is limited to $2,000 per recipient. Once rent or mortgages are paid, the limited amount of money for food is obviously going to become more and more apparent. And my concern is that once we get into the real crux of people needing help, the food has to be there. In other words, the tools need to be there. And I think as long as we give our staff the ability to regulate the distribution of that money, the City of Sarnia believes, by way of a unanimous motion, that the 5% allocation or the $140,000 total is something that is needed.
Okay, thank you. Councillor White?
Thank you. I agree with what Councillor Stark said there, and I would add to that there would be a significant number of people in our community, or I would suggest that there be a significant number of people in our community who wouldn't necessarily directly contact the county or have any direct contact with the county because they may not be on social assistance. They may not be thinking of that distribution channel to meet their needs. Because we're talking about families in this case who otherwise necessarily normally find this kind of a need. But as Councillor Stark pointed out, that $2,000 may not stretch very far. So we're talking about average families essentially who have mortgage payments, are used to making their but suddenly find themselves coming up short. And as Ms. I don't mean to use your words to advantage here, but as Ms. Colasani pointed out, there, sorry, I lost my train of thought on that. I'm going to circle back to the point is there are a number of people here who wouldn't necessarily know any other way to receive help. The food banks are a significant contributor to our community. We know that they're facing significant deficits in this county as a result of lack of fundraising opportunities, and this, I believe, is a way to just ensure that there's a significant contribution on our behalf to make sure that families are able to choose paying some of their other bills.
Councillor Clerk.
Thank you, Warden. I guess I'd go back to Councillor Broad's comments, and I do believe staff is probably working very closely with the local food bank to know exactly what dollars would be required going forward. The $20,000 that was already advanced, I'm sure was a needed dollar at that time. It could be more, it could be less than 120,000 that's still needed going forward. I still believe staff should have that parameters to decide on what the dollars should be, as opposed to us dictating what dollars should be given. Again, I think staff is in the best position for that. If there's a need to go greater than that, I think they should be able to do that. If it's less than that, I think they should be able to do that also. Not saying that the money would be wasted, but I think the dollars should be there based on what staff's needs are, as opposed to what council's dictation is.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Arnold.
Thank you, Warden Weaver. I guess my comments are the same around as what Doug had just said. By this motion, do we limit staff of how much money that they can allocate out to the food banks? If it is, I can't support that, because I know Valerie and her team are very much in touch with what's needed and working closely with them. But the last thing I would ever want to do is say that's all you can spend, because to me 5% does not seem like it's a lot of money when that's one of the main thrusts of having money distributed out.
Deputy Warden Marriott.
On that, I believe that the reality is.
Deputy Warden Marriott.
Oh, sorry.
Raise your hand.
Warden. Thank you, Warden. I just want to echo the last couple councillors, as well as go back to Ms. Colasandi's comments about the gift cards for grocery stores, because I think if there was going to be anything done, I'd like to see it targeted to groceries and not, but also going back to, I think staff is on top of this. I think that's why we have staff full time with this. So, but I do like her comments about targeting it to actual grocery gift cards. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stark, do you have another comment?
Yes, only to the extent that I think Councillor Arnold's comment about making sure that the money is targeted to food supplies is very relevant. And the 5% or the $120,000 simply gets us to the next council meeting when in fact we can revisit should this money not be enough. And I would like a recorded vote on this issue. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor White, I believe I seen your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Warden. I was going to suggest an amendment that it would be a minimum to address, I believe, Councillor Arnold's point that this may handcuff staff on that should they require any further funds. I'd certainly be willing to amend the motion to include it as a minimum contribution.
All second that and incorporate that as in the original motion to avoid requiring an amendment.
So a minimum of 120,000. Okay, that's everybody's agreed to that. Councillor Rumbouts, I believe I seen your hand up.
Yes, I was just wanting to comment that I think that the gift card idea that Ms. Calasanti has brought up, I think it's a great way of making sure that people are getting the food that they need, and without the stigma of having to go to a food bank, without having to worry about the interchange of all of that. It's just if you have somebody who hasn't been able to meet the rest of their bills with CERB, they can access a gift card. I think that makes sense rather than having to funnel it through the other local food banks. That's just my opinion. I like the idea of letting our staff do their job the way they see fit and reporting it back to council.
Okay. I have, if I don't see any more hands up, clarification. Does the 120,000, is that the 60,000 that's already been given? So is that, or are we on top of the money that's already been given to the food bank? Because I'm sure there's I heard a 60 and I heard a 20 of the 120, or is the 120 on top of the 60 that's already given?
Warren Weaver, if I could clarify, I guess, $60,000 has been flown to food banks within Lambton County. 20,000 of that 60 went to the Inn of the Good Shepherd. 40 went to other food banks directly who had some need.
Councillor White?
Offer that it would be inclusive of the dollars already spent. I think that's a reasonable definition of that motion.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor that up to 120,000 be delivered, which is inclusive of the 60 that has been distributed. And we've been asked for a recorded vote. I would call on Stefan to proceed with the recorded vote if possible.
Thank you, Warden Weaver. We'll go back to the magic box to determine who starts the voting process. By the way, I forget.
Low tech on this one.
Who requested the recorded vote for my records?
Start.
All right, so we will start with the recorded vote with Councillor Bouchy.
I'm in favor.
Councillor Bradley.
In favor.
Councillor Broad.
No.
Pardon?
No.
Councillor Cook.
No.
Councillor Ferguson.
In favor.
That's a yay. Councillor Hand.
Yes.
That's a yay. Councillor Loosely.
Yes.
That's a yes. Councillor Deputy Warden Marriott.
No.
That's a nay. Councillor Miller.
Yes.
That's a yay. Councillor Napper.
Yes.
That's a yay. Councillor Rombouts.
No?
That's an A. Councillor Stark.
Yes.
That's a yes. Councillor Veen.
Yes.
That's a yes. Councillor White.
Yes.
That's a yes. Councillor Arnold.
Yes.
That's a yes. And Councillor Bird.
Yes.
And of course, Warden Weaver.
No.
The motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Item number 10, information reports. Screen back up here. We have our information report dealing with the 2020 budget impacts with preliminary estimates regarding COVID-19. There's a lot of information in there. I thank staff for preparing this. Any questions regarding that report? Councillor Arnold, I believe, that you have your hand up. Councillor Bradley, I guess, had his hand up. There's a few there. Hold your hand up so I can see who's ready. Councillor Bradley.
A general comment and a couple questions to this board and County Council.
You turn your volume up a little bit, or maybe it's just me. Try that again. Oh, there you go.
Hopefully you can hear. A couple of general comments. I really believe that the county needs to be belt tightening. If you look at the report, and there's really not a lot of specifics on actually hard actions. If you look at the report, it's the provincial money that is making the difference on not having a deficit at the end of this year. And one only has to be out in your own community to know there's a lot of distress out there. And we haven't even really felt the impacts. We just had a major business here yesterday announce that they're closing down. And what I see happening is the lower tier municipalities are carrying the burden of the cuts. They're doing the cutting, and the upper tier should be doing everything possible to reduce our levy costs. The city pays $38.5 million in levy. I'm not sure in the months ahead into next year that we can pay that levy. If we lose 20, 30% of our business by default, then we're in a tough situation. That's why we cut $1.7 million just back on April the 20th. And I do think that the county needs to look at how to reduce those costs. There are no canceled projects. It seems like business as usual. And I do have a specific question on the summer students. Am I reading that report right, that we're hiring students and some of them will not be working and they'll be paid to be work just to be at home? Is that the case?
I can address that, Warden.
Thank you.
No, that's not the case. In terms of the summer, in direct response to the question, no. What we've done at the county is that with many of our students, we've picked them up or employed them on flexible terms and conditions of employment. And the flexibility is twofold, one of which is we could terminate the relationship at any point in time if required due to no need for the student. And then secondly, we can reduce the hours that the student works at any point in time. And that provides obviously flexibility for the employer, but as well, then it allows, if it were to happen, it allows the summer student to then go on the CERB, which is the federal program that's bringing in some revenues into the community through that program. In addition, our summer students are employed to backfill what I would call regular labor, more expensive labor during the summer. So we view a student, if a student costs us $7,000 over the summer, they are saving us, because of being paid at minimum wage, they're saving us a different wage elsewhere for that summer. We don't have student-specific programs that are added on. Rather, we use them as backfill labor for the summer, where there's a heightened requirement for that labor at a lower rate. Hopefully that answers the question.
Well, that wasn't in the report, but I will say, again, in general terms, I really do believe that we need to do everything we can to get the county levy down. I do not know how, in a couple of months, when we really get hit hard with defaults in our respective communities, it'll be the lower tier that's going to struggle with that issue. And yet they'll still have the same budget that was set by the county this past year. Whether it's said to be balanced, it's only balanced because of other factors. And I really think belt tightening means more than just doing what we're doing today. And I'll leave it at that. I'll be bringing the reconsideration to open the budget. I'm a realist about where that's going, but I think we'll regret if we don't do more belt tightening now, when we still have some flexibility and freedom. We'll be reactive in the year ahead and the year after, as we, because just in closing, it is so different for the federal and provincial governments. As things turn around and things get better, they have all these progressive taxes, provincial sales taxes, and all those other things the federal government has. So their income goes up automatically. In our case, there is no benefit in direct terms. We may get some assessment growth, so we have no other vehicle to get our incomes up. And so they'll exit the recession, full steam ahead and trying to get down their debt. We'll be in a swamp still of where we were right now. And so that's the thing that really concerns me as we move forward. And I don't like giving this type of remarks, but to me, it's just realistic of where we're going in this next 6 months to a year. And with that, I thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cook?
Thank you, Warden. Not that I disagree with Councillor Bradley's comments, but I think it's been pointed out that the majority of the work that's done at the county level is called essential services anyway. As far as giving up all the projects, right now I think it's an opportunity to take advantage of what's out there with construction costs and everything, because I believe there could be significant savings made if we do go ahead with some projects. And thirdly, I think the report covers off, in general terms, pretty much every one of the managers' costs that are involved with their different groups. Regardless of whether it's going to be a budget or a break even, we could be a deficit at the end of the year. I think we still have to go forward with what we're doing. This is a pie in the sky, or it's an unknown at this factor, exactly where the numbers are going to come out with. To start trying to change the path that we're on right now, this early in the game, I think it's a little premature.
Any other comments? Councillor Arnold.
Thank you, Warden. Thank you, Warden Weber. I appreciate that. And I agree somewhat with what Doug was saying there. We're finding when we go out to tender for major projects, bids are good. The contractors are very excited that they actually have some work. And my feeling is if we don't continue on doing the capital projects that we've allocated so far, we're just going to add to the misery of the community. And we do have the Opportunities and Contingencies Fund. It was put there for problems that we may have, just like what we're going through today, that if we get stuck, we won't have to carry forth a budget deficit. And I know there was quite a controversy at the time, not so many years ago, of even starting that fund. But when you have $8-9 million sitting there 4 times like this, that I think that this is an opportunity that we do not want to create more problems out in the community for those contractors that are counting on this and the families that are going to eat from because they're doing this work. And will we be able to pick it up later? Not sure. I was really impressed with the report. I thought that I would see something just terrible when I read through this, that we'd be missing a ton of money already. And realizing we're only a few months into this and things could change a lot worse here in the next couple of months, and I can appreciate that. But I fall back on the fact that we do have a fund there that if we need to, we can dip into it. We're going to get good prices out on our contracts. Anything that we've done at the township has come in under budget compared to what we had originally thought and projected. And we're keeping people working and getting them out there and letting them put bread on their table. So that's just my comments, Mr. Ward.
Thank you. Councillor Bird, then Councillor Stark.
Thank you, Warden Weber. I have 2 questions, and the first one I refer to page 38, the Roman numeral 3, with regard to the long-term care. Can you please tell me what exactly are the additional costs incurred related to the rapid responses required to prevent and contain the spread of the COVID-19 virus?
Through you, the warden, basically the costs in all our essential service areas are the overtime costs, screening costs, personal protective equipment costs, potentially some security costs. The essential service areas such as long-term care, our initial, projections are approximately about $250,000. And I just want to know that these costs are still very highly speculative as to when this pandemic and returning to the new normal will happen. And that's why we want to provide monthly updates on a go-forward basis.
Well, thank you, because I was wondering what the specifics were that it actually covered, so that was great, thank you. And my second question, I refer you to page 39, Roman numeral 4. What type of work do students do who are employed in the long-term care? Can you tell me specifically what they're employed to do?
Stefan or Jane? I see Ms. Doris.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Warden. So we have a significant amount of full-time staff who require vacation. So we're able to hire students to do PSW work to backfill for those holidays. We also have what we call activity aides. So those are people who work in the recreation department to backfill for vacation, as well as to offer some special programming through the summer. We hire students to do our annual family resident satisfaction survey as sort of a third party. And also some groundskeeping is done by students as well.
So thank you. So would the students that you hire specifically then in the long-term care area, would they have to be already involved or studying in those areas at college or university?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, the reason I brought this question forward is because last year, I believe it was in March, when I had a conversation with Warden Weber and CAO Ron Van Horn, I had made a proposal about employing students in long-term care, and I was told that it wouldn't be possible because of the liability and insurance issues. So that's what made me wonder and questioned us here.
Through you, Warden Weber, in our act, it specifically mentions nursing students can work as PSW for summer leave.
So I'm just referring back to last year again, to Warden Weber. What was the reference intended to mean then when you said we wouldn't be able to hire students in the long-term care because of the liability and insurance issues? Could you just clarify that, please?
I don't specifically recall, but it was probably to do with generalization of students, and there is conditions on what students can be hired. So I think that would make the difference there.
Is there possibly any documentation that you could refer me to that or send me that from staff?
I would ask Jane Ms. George to provide that information. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stark.
Yes, I'd like to support Councillor Arnold's comments as it relates to the contingency fund. I specifically asked the question during the budget session whether or not we were in a position to adequately address the COVID-19 situation. And Councillor Arnold was kind enough to refer to the contingency fund as a backstop for any potential overruns that we would be looking at. That was particularly interesting when I went to our budget booklet and saw that we have a budget balance in that particular account of $10,761,000, of which I believe we have committed 1.5 million of that towards the extension of fiber optics deeper into the county. So that leaves roughly a $9 million balance, as Councillor Arnold referred to. My understanding of what a contingency fund is another word for rainy day. Well, if rainy days aren't here, I don't know what rainy days are. The reality is that's what the purpose of a contingency fund is. It is available, and I have sympathy for Councillor Bradley's comments more as it relates to the development of the 2021 budget versus the current situation that we're in. I think we can access monies out of the contingency fund should we need them, and quite frankly, I think we are going to need them as it relates to ongoing testing within the Lambton Health Unit, and specifically surveillance testing, which there has been none done as of yet. I was going to ask questions of Dr. Ranaday, and I will, and in fact, I let Mr. Taylor know that in fact those questions will be forthcoming. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Bradley?
A question on the contingency fund to the treasurer. How much of that money is going to be allocated to the Bayside Mall redevelopment?
through the warden, at this point in time, $700,000 was contributed in the 2020 budget as a contribution into that fund. So there's about $3.5 billion that's going in. We plan on going in over the next 5 years to basically offset $3.8 million worth of costs for leasehold improvements. So we have money that's been earmarked for Lambton Share.
Okay, just one general comment to council. But again, belt tightening means belt tightening. And at no point was I suggesting no projects should go ahead. What we did in the city, we took about 6 that could wait till next year. And we just pushed them off to that budget. Because we'd rather be prepared now than try to react later. And that was the point of why we should defer some projects. Not all projects. There are projects that need to go ahead, and there's, as said by some of the councillors, valid reasons to go ahead now. But there are also some that can be deferred, and that's what we've done here. So thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on this report? Did I have a motion that this be received for information, or have we had that discussion? Councillor Cook and Councillor Arnold have just moved that this be received for information. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much. If we carry on, we have a report regarding a motion for Cultural Services Division regarding the hours of operation at cultural service facilities. Is there a motion to for that recommendation? Councillor Rumbout, seconded by Councillor Miller, I believe. Any questions regarding that recommendation? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. Committee minutes. We have 4 sets of committee minutes, committee AM minutes from February 19th. Councillor White.
Thank you, Warden Weaver. I present to County Council the minutes of the February 19th, 2020 Committee AM meeting.
Thank you. Infrastructure Development Services Division, item 1, correspondence received and filed. Item 2, information reports received and filed. Item number 3, regarding the county gateway sign selection. Item number 4 is Public Health Services Division correspondence. Item number 5, information reports from Public Health received. Item number 6, information regarding 2020 draft budget impacts, COVID. Cultural Services Division, item number 7, information reports received and filed. Item number 8, Library Policy Manual. Item number 9, regarding library donation reports. Item 10, regarding hours of operation at the library. Item 11, collections management, county's recognition policy. Item 12, regarding the Canatera log cabin. Item 13, regarding capital needs and provincial downloading pressures. Item 14 was in camera, 15 and 16 were in camera, 17 is opening up into open session, and item 18 is adjournment. Councillor White.
Thank you, Warden Weaver. I move that County Council receive the minutes as printed from February 19th, 2020 Committee AM meeting.
A seconder for that. Councillor Ferguson. Any further questions? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We have the February 19th PM committee minutes from February 19th. Councillor Rumbout.
Thank you, Warden Weaver. I present the minutes of the meeting held February 19th for council's consideration.
Thank you. Long-term care division, item 1 was information reports, receive and file. Corporate services division, there were no reports. Finance facilities court services division, there was information report, motion number 2. Motion number 3 regarding the treasurer's statutory report on funding for the 2020 budget. Social Service Division, item number 4, reports from Social Services received and filed. Item number 5, regarding Ontario Housing Benefits. Item number 6, declaration to go into camera. Item 7 and 8, we're in closed session. Item 9 is going into open session, and adjournment is number 10. Councillor Rumbout.
Thank you. I move that County Council accept the committee PM minutes from February 19th as read.
Seconder for those minutes, Councillor Stark. Any questions? All in favor of that set of minutes? That is carried. Thank you. We move to the April 15th AM committee minutes, and I will go back to Councillor White.
Thank you, Warden Weaver. I present to County Council the minutes from April 15, 2020, Committee AM.
Thank you. We had an update from the Medical Officer of Health, and then we went Infrastructure and Development Service. Item 1 is information reports. Item 2, County Road 12 rehabilitation. Public Health Services Division, item 3 was information report. Cultural Service Division, item 4 was receive and file of correspondence. Information, actually. Item 5 was in camera. Item 6 is in camera. Item 7 was open meetings. And item 8 was adjournment. Councillor White.
Thank you, Warden Weaver. I move that Lambton County Council accept the minutes of April 15, 2020's Committee AM meeting.
Second by Councillor Miller. Any questions? All in favor of that recommendation? That is carried. Thank you. PM committee minutes from April 15th. Councillor Rumbout.
Thank you. I present the minutes of the April 15th PM committee PM.
Thank you. We also had an update from Dr. Ranaday at that committee meeting. Our long-term care division, item 1, information reports received. Corporate Services Division, item 2, information reports receive and file. Item 3 regarding Integrity Commissioner appointment. Item 4 is the information report to receive and file. Councillor Bradley, sorry.
On the Integrity Commissioner report, I did not understand why that was done in camera, the one portion of it. The actual appointment was done in camera when any time in the past of the county and in the city, the Integrity Commissioner it's been a totally public process, never dealt with in camera.
Mr. Dufault?
Yes, thank you very much. A good question. The appointment of the Integrity Commissioner was done in open session, so the discussion about the appointment of the Integrity Commissioner was definitely done in open session. The Integrity Commissioner requested that in terms of his contractual rates, that those were being provided on a confidential basis, on a commercial confidential basis. And as a result of that, it is properly in camera at his request to effectively provide protection to what's considered commercially sensitive information, which is competitive information.
Well,
that's the only reason it was split.
I have to disagree with that. integrity commissioners are public people. They work for this council, and what they're paid, and that's been a big issue in this jurisdiction in the past, what they're paid should be public knowledge. I don't think he gets to dictate to us what's confidential and what isn't. And if I recall in the past, that information was public, and certainly in our situation, the new commissioner, the old commissioner, what they were paid was public information. So people realized if someone launches a complaint and you get an investigation going, what the cost is. It could be quite obviously substantial, not just here, but everywhere. So I don't know why his rate would not be known to the public, because at the end, it's going to show up in the budget someplace.
No, it's a good question. I think at this point in time, it's just because there are negotiations, meaning that his rates are either accepted or not accepted. Once they're accepted, of course, the discussion will be with the integrity commissioner that it becomes a public information, absolutely. But until such time as the negotiations are wrapped up, then they are properly confidential commercial information.
You're muted, Councillor Bradley. Can't hear you.
I would hope then he would understand that this will become public at the end, whatever the rate is.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Okay. Where was I? Item in finance facilities information, item 4, council remuneration. Item 5, 2019 year-end surplus. Any cost or revenue associated with the 2020 budget year. Item 6 is 2020 tax policy proposal for Lambton County. Social Services Division, item 7, pandemic updates. Item 8 was in camera. Item 9, 10, and 11 was to open the meeting again. Item 12 was adjournment. Chair Rumbounds.
Thank you, Warden Weaver. I move that County Council accept the committee PM minutes from April 15th as read.
Second by Councillor White. Questions? All in favor of that? That's carried. Thank you. Item number 13, we have a notice of motion. Councillor Bradley, you want to present your notice?
Councillors and Mr. Warden, it's self-explanatory. It's a reconsideration. It's not debatable. So I'm asking for the budget to be reopened for this year.
Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Bird?
And I did request a recorded vote.
Yes. So this is a reconsideration of the budget. Motion to reopen it. And Mr. Tufo, if I could get you to call the vote.
Thank you. And again, this is a motion to reconsider the budget. Recorded vote requested by Councillor Bradley, and we are starting with Councillor Arnold.
Thank you very much. No.
That's a no. Councillor Bird.
Yes.
That's a yes. Councillor Bouchy.
Yes.
That's a yes. Councillor Bradley.
Yes.
That's a yes. Councillor Broad.
No.
That's a no. Councillor Cook. Councillor Cook.
Microphone didn't come on there. Still didn't hear your microphone, Councillor Cook. You are muted.
No.
Councillor Cook, that's a no. Councillor Ferguson.
No.
Councillor Ferguson, that's a no. Councillor Hand. You're muted.
No.
Councillor Hand, that's a no. Councillor Loosely.
Favor, yes.
That's a yes. Councillor Deputy Warden Marriott.
No.
That's a no. Councillor Miller.
No.
That's a no. Councillor Napper.
No.
Councillor Councillor Lamper, that's a no. Councillor Rombouts?
No.
Councillor Rombouts is a no. Councillor Stark?
No.
Councillor Stark is a no. Councillor Veen?
No.
Councillor Veen is a no. Councillor White?
No.
Councillor White is a no. Warden Weaver?
No.
The motion fails.
Thank you. Councillor Bradley has a second notice of motion that County Council waive the rules of order for our May 6th meeting.
Mr. Warden, those motions are written. If the first one doesn't pass, the rest aren't going anyplace.
Okay.
The way I put that together was that you had to reopen the budget to get into these other issues. And Mr. Tebow, am I correct on that protocol?
Sorry, you were muted, Stefan.
Too many buttons. That's correct.
Okay. Other business? Councillor Arnold.
Thank you very much, Warden Weaver. I'd like to put a notice of motion for the June meeting, and that is that staff incorporate a roundabout at the intersection of County Road 4 and County Road 31 for consideration in the 2021 budget year.
Okay. I'm sure that's recorded for a notice of motion coming up to the next meeting. Any other business? Okay. Seeing Councillor Bradley's hand up.
Yeah, I just a question to Councillor Arnold. This is directly related to the letter we received yesterday.
Yes, as well as other issues that we've had these before at the same intersection and a number of things over the years.
Okay, I was, it's your community. I was going to move that letter officially. I don't know if everyone got it, but it was a very heart-wrenching letter about the history of that one particular intersection. Would it be with St. Clair, because I'm not sure what the jurisdiction is, to refer that letter to both communities for an official response?
I have spoken, and that letter will be on the agenda for our committee meetings, the upcoming committee meetings, so we can get further directions at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other new business? Being no hands. Notice of bylaws.
It is moved by Councillor Hand and seconded by Councillor Rombouts that bylaws 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 of 2020 as circulated be taken as read a first and second time.
Questions? All in favor? That's carried.
It is moved by Councillor Rombouts, seconded by Councillor Hand that bylaws 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 of 2020 as circulated be taken as read a third and final time.
Questions? All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Adjournment. We don't have, we're not going to single Canada, put everybody through that today, but I would just thank everybody. I think we had a very good meeting, lots of discussion, able to see everyone, and everyone participated by video. So kudos to staff for putting this together, the ones that are operating the live stream and keeping the public up to speed with what we're talking about here. So with that, we'll meet again. Our regular meeting will be held Wednesday, June the 3rd at 9 a.m. I don't know what changes will be between now and then, whether we are open up to larger groups. If not, same format will go forward in June. We'll see how things open up. Everybody stay home and stay safe. Wash your hands. It's the best defense we have out there is washing your hands. So with that, I want to call on a motion to adjourn. Councillor Hand and Councillor White, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you, everyone. Good meeting.
Thanks, Bill.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Warden.
Thank you.
Thanks.